To act as if you've already won the lottery, you must first awaken to a deeper truth. That wealth, like all things, begins in the unseen. Before any check arrives, before any numbers are called, before any outward evidence can be touched or measured, there is an inner shift that must take place, a shift in consciousness. The key is not to wait for evidence, but to become the evidence, to move from hoping to knowing, to cease asking and begin receiving. What you receive internally becomes the seed that bears fruit externally. That which you claim in imagination is not a lie. It is the lawful use of the creative power that shapes the world. The truth is that the physical world is not a cause. It is an effect. Everything you see, everything you touch, and everything you hold is simply the outer projection of the state you occupy inwardly. When you act as if you've already won the lottery, you are not playing pretend. You are entering a state that already exists and claiming it as your dwelling place. The state is not imaginary, it is real, and it becomes physical when you persist in it. There are infinite states, and every single one exists now. You do not create a new reality by effort or struggle. You shift into it by assumption. It is not action in the outer world, but assumption in the inner world that determines what comes to pass. Wealth is a frequency, a state of awareness, a pattern of feeling and belief. When you win the lottery in your imagination, you are not fantasizing. You are moving into that state of wealth and allowing it to claim you. Many people imagine riches as something to be earned, won, or granted from outside. But all riches originate from within. The lottery win itself is just a symbol of sudden abundance, of overflow, of unexpected elevation. Whether it comes through a lottery or some other channel is not the point. The point is that you must feel what it's like to already have it. And then the bridge of incidence will lead you to its physical counterpart. The moment you feel yourself to be rich, truly feel it, not as a passing daydream, but as a living truth, you begin to radiate a new frequency. That frequency is not empty. It carries with it a magnetic pull, a signal to the universe that says, this is who I am now. And because the universe is obedient to feeling, it must return to you that which you have accepted. The lottery then is not something you win by luck. It is something you win by consciousness. The numbers on a ticket may appear random, but nothing in life is random when viewed through the lens of imagination. Begin now by asking not what you would do if you won the lottery, but what you would feel if it were already done. Would you breathe differently, walk with more confidence, feel a lighter heart, a freer mind? Would you live without tension, without rush, without fear? All these sensations are part of the state of having, and when you accept that state, you bring it forward. You need not simulate the details, you need only simulate the emotion. The emotion is the cause, the rest will follow. For if you can maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the outer world will conform. But you must not waver. The mistake many make is to feel rich for a moment, then look to the outer world and become discouraged by what appears unchanged. This is the test. The world will often appear static while the inner work is being done, but persist in the state. Let your inner reality become so vivid, so natural, so constant, that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. The world cannot resist sustained assumption. It must yield. Acting as if does not mean spending recklessly or speaking boastfully. It means moving inwardly in faith. It means letting your thoughts, moods, and behaviors be molded by the end you have claimed. Do not let the five senses deceive you. The senses are reporters, not judges. They tell you what was, not what is coming. To act as if you've already won is to believe that the unseen is more real than the seen. It is to walk by vision, not by sight. You can begin today. You can create the atmosphere of wealth around you now. Treat your time as if it is valuable. Treat your choices as if they impact the direction of an abundant life. Speak to yourself as someone who has already arrived. When you look in the mirror, do not see someone hoping to win. See the one who has already won. You are not trying to become rich. You are waking up to the wealth that already belongs to you in spirit. This shift is quiet. It happens not in the noise of effort, but in the stillness of being. The quiet confidence that says, "It is done," is more powerful than 1,000 plans. You need not figure out how it will come. The how is not your domain. Your only task is to dwell in the state. Stay there, return there. Build a home in that feeling. Let it become your natural dwelling. And from that place, all things will be added unto you. Wealth is not a figure printed on a slip of paper or stored in a digital account. It is a state of consciousness. This truth, once fully absorbed, transforms the seeker from a beggar of conditions into a creator of experience. The common error is to associate wealth with external signs, with lavish homes or luxurious possessions, and to wait for those signs before accepting oneself as wealthy. But in the higher law, it is not what you have that defines your state. It is what you are conscious of being. To live as if you've already won the lottery, you must first become aware of what that condition represents inwardly. The lottery win symbolizes a massive, unexpected inflow of abundance. But the outer windfall is not the source of abundance, it is merely the shadow. The real abundance begins the moment you accept the state of having, not partial possession, not hopeful expectation, but the full acceptance that you already have more than enough. The shift is internal. It is silent, and yet once made, it commands the world to adjust. When one occupies the state of abundance, the world subtly and then dramatically begins to mirror that belief. But this cannot be feigned. You cannot deceive the law. You may speak words of wealth and imagine scenarios of luxury, but if the feeling within remains one of lack, then no outer change will hold. To adopt the consciousness of wealth is to feel in the core of your being that nothing is missing. It is to know that you are supported, provided for, and free without needing evidence. All manifestation is rooted in consciousness. You do not receive what you want, you receive what you are aware of being. And so, to be aware of being a lottery winner is to inhabit a world where that victory has already occurred. This may seem foolish to the rational mind, it may feel strange to the senses, but the higher creative law does not respond to logic or sight. It responds to feeling. If you feel yourself to be wealthy and persist in that assumption, the outer world is compelled to obey. Think of the lottery win not as an event in time, but as a state always present. There are infinite realities, one in which you won, one in which you didn't. But these are not distant possibilities. They are living states, accessible at any moment through imagination. When you enter the state where you have already won, you select that reality. You do not hope for it. You occupy it. You live from it. And you trust that what you are internally living must express itself externally. To assume wealth is to move, speak, and decide as one who has already been given what they desired. It is not arrogance, it is not fantasy, it is alignment. When you take on this feeling, you change your vibration, and your vibration dictates your reality. The outer world is plastic to the inner voice. It takes shape according to your inner tone. That tone is not made of words. It is made of your self-concept, your mood, your quiet declarations of identity. When you sit quietly and imagine yourself holding the check, seeing your name on it, feeling the weight of the money already deposited, you are not entertaining a fiction. You are impressing the subconscious with a new truth. The subconscious, once impressed, will outpicture that truth without effort. You are not forcing the wind to happen, you are allowing the natural flow of life to reveal the scene you have internally claimed. There is no power greater than assumption felt to be true. The moment you truly believe you are wealthy, the world responds. Not always immediately, not always obviously, but faithfully. The bridge of events begins to form. Encounters, opportunities, changes in behavior, all orchestrated to bring about the manifestation of your internal claim. You need not know how it unfolds. That is not your concern. Your concern is to hold the state, to remain faithful to the unseen. If you believe the state only when it is confirmed by the senses, you have placed the cart before the horse. Instead, believe it until it becomes visible. Your senses must yield to your imagination, not the other way around. Walk as the winner, sleep as the winner. Let your mental conversations be those of someone who has already received what they once hoped for. There should be no waiting, no longing, only being. The lottery represents freedom. Freedom from anxiety, from limitation, from constraint. But you can feel free before the evidence of that freedom appears. That is the true work. Not to change the world, but to change the self. And once the self is changed, the world must follow. Nothing stands between you and the reality you desire but the belief that you are not yet there. Release that belief, and what you seek is already yours. This is the power that governs creation. Not effort, but alignment. Not wishing, but assuming. Not becoming, but being. If you can wake up each day and walk in the identity of the one who has already won, you will discover that life reshapes itself in the image of that identity. The outer circumstances, people, and paths will emerge, not by force, but by the silent command of your assumed state. You are always being what you assume yourself to be, and the world is always bearing witness. The act of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not to be confused with mere daydreaming or idle visualization. It is a disciplined inner act, a conscious acceptance of an unseen reality as more valid than the current facts presented by the senses. To feel the joy of already having won the lottery, you must enter a state of mind where the external world no longer determines your internal response. The senses may deny it, the bank account may laugh at it, but if the feeling is real to you, then the creation is underway. Imagination is not limited by conditions. It does not need evidence, it only needs a direction and a feeling. The direction is your desire, the feeling is your conviction that it is already yours. When you generate the emotional state of joy, satisfaction, and gratitude, as if the lottery had already been won, you are not acting in fantasy, you are operating in truth. For there is no truth higher than consciousness, and once something is accepted in consciousness, it must take form in the world of experience. The feeling of already having something carries a frequency that calls it forth. Most people misunderstand this principle. They believe that emotions follow events. But in the realm of creation, emotions precede events. You do not wait to feel joyful until you win. You feel joyful now because you know that in the higher dimension of being, the win has already occurred. You do not wait for the outer to give you permission. You give yourself permission to feel now what you intend to experience later. And by feeling it now, you collapse the distance between desire and manifestation. Feeling is the secret. Not wishing, not begging, not hoping, feeling. When you feel yourself to be the one who has already won, the world begins to reorganize itself. But it does not always do so through dramatic displays. Often the changes begin in subtle ways. Your posture changes, your tone of voice shifts, your inner conversations evolve. You stop identifying as someone trying to change their life and begin identifying as someone whose life already reflects their innermost assumption. If you persist in that feeling, the bridge of incidents will unfold. These are not accidents. They are not coincidences. They are the outpicturing of your inner state. Events, people, and opportunities will move toward you, magnetized by the new emotional state you consistently inhabit. The feeling makes it real, and that feeling is something you can generate at any moment, regardless of outer conditions. Do not confuse this with pretending. Pretending implies that you know it is not true and are simply playing a part. This is different. This is spiritual authenticity. You are not pretending to be rich. You are being rich in consciousness. You are aligning yourself with a version of reality where what you want is already true. And that alignment, held faithfully, creates the pathway for physical experience to follow. There is great power in emotional rehearsal. Just as an actor rehearses a scene to perfection, you too must rehearse the state of the fulfilled desire until it becomes second nature. Sit quietly and let the feeling of wealth wash over you. Hear the words in your mind, "You've won." Feel the paper in your hand, the check with your name on it. See your loved ones celebrating with you. Hear the laughter, the astonishment, the joy. Let those scenes play again and again until they leave an impression on the subconscious. The subconscious does not distinguish between a real event and a vividly imagined one. It responds only to feeling and repetition, and what it accepts as true, it must express. You are not trying to change the subconscious with force. You are impressing it with certainty. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the tool that imprints the new pattern. And once imprinted, it operates without your conscious interference, guiding your behavior, choices, and responses toward the fulfillment of that emotional blueprint. This is the inner work. It is invisible, but it is the cause of all that is visible. Those who understand this principle do not chase success, they assume it. They do not strive for abundance, they dwell in it. They do not seek evidence, they become evidence. And the world, ever obedient to the command of feeling, conforms itself to their assumption. To live in the feeling of already having won the lottery is to become independent of circumstances. It is to rise above doubt, above delay, above fear. It is to anchor yourself in the unseen and allow that anchoring to pull the desired result into view. You do not manipulate the world, you accept a new inner truth and watch as the world bends to reflect it. Every moment you spend feeling that you are already wealthy strengthens the pattern. Every moment you persist in that state adds weight to it in the subconscious. And when that feeling becomes more familiar than the old one, when the state of abundance becomes more natural than the state of lack, the world has no choice but to follow suit. It must, for it has always been a reflection of who you're being, not what you are doing. You are not here to earn or win your dreams. You are here to assume them, to feel them as real, and to allow the Lord to express them in its perfect time and way. The inner state is the seed, and the outer result is the fruit. There is no exception to this. Feeling is not optional, it is the creative command. And when that feeling is clear, consistent, and confidently held, it becomes destiny. To act as if you've already won the lottery is to occupy a position of unwavering inner confidence, even in the absence of outer evidence. This is not wishful thinking. It is the application of a law more reliable than any external circumstance. The law that states the outer world must mirror the inner assumption. The moment you accept an idea as true within, the entire structure of reality begins moving to confirm it. It may not come through the channel you expect. It may not arrive in the form you imagined, but it will come, for it must. The feeling you consistently embody becomes the framework through which your world is built. This principle does not depend on effort or hustle. It depends on your loyalty to the unseen. The outer world has no choice but to reflect the state you persistently occupy. What most people do not realize is that reality does not respond to occasional wishes or half-hearted affirmations. It responds to dominant states of consciousness. These states are not what you claim in words. They are what you embody in feeling. You may say you are abundant, but if you feel poor, the world will echo your feeling, not your speech. The outer world is an obedient servant. It does not initiate, it reacts. It does not create, it reflects. It is a mirror, and like all mirrors, it cannot reflect anything but what is before it. If you place a face of fear, doubt, and lack before the mirror, it will show you images that reinforce that posture. But if you place the face of confidence, gratitude, and wealth before the mirror, it must show you a world that supports that identity. This is the unbreakable law of consciousness. To persist in the state of already having won is to ignore the shouting of the senses. It is to remain faithful to the feeling when nothing around you seems to support it. This is the test of faith. It is easy to believe when the evidence is clear, but creation requires that you believe before the evidence appears. The seed is planted in the unseen, and if you remain faithful to the seed, the tree will come. The moment you abandon the seed because you see no stem breaking through the soil, you interrupt the process. You delay the harvest. This is why the world cannot resist the power of sustained imagination. The key is not to imagine once and forget, but to imagine persistently, to return to the state again and again until it becomes your dwelling place. Just as water shapes the stone through repeated contact, the feeling you return to again and again shapes the world you live in. The feeling becomes a groove in consciousness, and that groove becomes the path that outer reality follows. You are never punished for your assumptions. You are only burdened by the ones you no longer desire but still carry. If you continue to feel lack, even unintentionally, your world must match it. But the moment you drop the old and enter the new with sincerity, you are free. The outer world may take time to catch up, but the change has already occurred. Persistence is what allows the unseen change to harden into visible fact. The bridge of incidents will unfold not because you force them, but because your new assumption makes them inevitable. This bridge may come in unexpected forms. Perhaps a conversation, an opportunity, a simple shift in your own reaction. These are not random. They are responses to your new state. If you assume that you've already won, the world begins organizing around that truth. People you've never met become instruments. Places you've never thought of become destinations. But all of this depends on your persistence. Do not mistake persistence for strain. You do not have to force belief. You simply have to return to the state often enough that it becomes natural. In the beginning, the state of having may feel foreign, but if you revisit it repeatedly, through imagination, through inner speech, through feeling, it becomes your home. The old state dissolves through disuse, and the new one becomes your default. When this happens, manifestation becomes effortless. What once seemed impossible now feels inevitable. You must understand, every person, every event, every object is a projection of your state. The moment you change the state, the cast must change. The scenes must alter. The narrative must shift. And yet the power lies entirely within. You do not beg the outer world to change. You do not argue with conditions. You do not fight appearances. You rise inwardly, and the world bows to meet you. Your assumption creates the rhythm, and the world must dance to it. There is no need to check for signs. Signs come after belief, not before. To constantly look outside for confirmation is to show the subconscious that you do not truly believe. The moment you know that you have it, you lose the need for signs. You stop searching. You stop asking when. You simply are. And this being is the most powerful state of all. Being is not passive. It is magnetic. It draws all things into alignment. As you go about your day, carry within you the stillness of certainty. Do not broadcast your assumption with words. Let your actions, your posture, your inner calm declare what is already true. When you walk into a room, do so with the quiet authority of someone who lacks nothing. When you close your eyes at night, Let the feeling of wealth cradle you into sleep. When thoughts of doubt arise, gently return to the state, not with force, but with familiarity. This is where I live now. This is who I am now. And the world must show me what I have already become. Creation begins in stillness, not in movement. The most powerful acts of manifestation are not performed in the noise of activity, but in the silence of imagination. And within this silence, one must learn the art of feeling. To act as if you've already won the lottery is not simply to visualize the outcome. It is to dwell deeply and deliberately in the emotional reality of it. The mind may entertain the thought of winning, but it is the feeling that imprints the truth upon the subconscious. And what the subconscious accepts, life must reflect. Feeling is the gateway. The conscious mind makes the selection, but it is the feeling that carries that selection down into the depths where creation truly happens. This is why emotional rehearsal is not a game of fantasy, but a discipline of spiritual cause. The act of imagining yourself receiving the winning ticket, holding the check in your hand, hearing the announcement, and celebrating with loved ones, all of that is more than mental imagery. It is a training of vibration, a shaping of frequency, a decision to occupy the state of already having what you desire. When you enter this state emotionally, you begin to rewrite your identity. You shift from one who wants to one who has, from one who waits to one who remembers. And in this identity shift, your entire world begins to align with a new self-image. You are not asking the world to give you something. It is already yours. Now you are merely awakening to the memory of its possession. This is the paradox of imagination. What you create in feeling is not a future possibility, but a present reality in a higher dimension of self. And the physical world, being slower in vibration, must catch up to what already exists in spirit. Take time daily to go within and rehearse the scene, not with strain, not with force, but with surrender. Imagine it as you wish it to be, and feel the emotions it would produce in you. Hear the sounds, see the faces, smell the air, feel the texture of the check, the vibration in your hands, the excitement in your chest, the disbelief giving way to joy. It does not matter whether the mind believes it or not. The subconscious does not need logical proof. It responds to sustained, vivid, emotional impressions. The key is consistency. A single moment of emotional visualization can leave a mark, but repetition imprints a new blueprint into the subconscious mind. And once this blueprint is accepted, your behavior will begin to shift naturally, effortlessly. You may speak differently, carry yourself with new confidence, attract opportunities you never imagined. These changes are not the cause of your state, they are the result of it. The outer world is not initiating anything. It is responding to your internal command. The more you repeat this inner drama, the more natural it becomes. And as it becomes natural, it begins to dominate your inner conversations. You start thinking from the end rather than about the end. There is no longer a gap between desire and identity. You are not chasing something outside yourself. You are remembering something already within you. This is the great reversal. Instead of looking out and hoping something comes in, you look within and realize it is already done. But the feeling must be real. It must become more familiar to you than the present facts. Not because you resist the facts, but because you no longer identify with them. When you rehearse the scene vividly and consistently, it begins to take on the quality of memory. You begin to feel that it has already happened. And this inner certainty, once established, has creative power beyond any outer effort. It is not necessary to know how it will happen. It is not your responsibility to determine the mechanics. That task belongs to the unseen intelligence that governs the flow of manifestation. Your only role is to dwell in the end, to remain loyal to the feeling of already having. That feeling is the magnetic force. It draws everything necessary into your path, not because you chase it, but because your vibration declares, "This is who I am." For manifestation follows the law of correspondence. The outer is a mirror. If you want to see a different reflection, you must change what is before the glass. You must generate a new feeling, live in that emotional state, and persist until it becomes stable. Once that inner reality becomes more dominant than your outer circumstances, the outer world bends to match it. In the silence of imagination, you have full access to the world you desire. You can feel it now, taste it now, live it now. And in doing so, you collapse time. What would have taken years may come in weeks. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable. But this can only happen if the feeling becomes your home. You must return to it again and again until it becomes the most natural place to live, until the question is no longer, "How do I get it?" but rather, "How did I ever forget I had it?" The more you rehearse this feeling, the more it becomes your dominant state. You may not realize it, but the world is already beginning to shift. Conversations will change, doors will open, events will rearrange. All because you rehearsed the end. You entered the scene, you assumed the identity, and you made the feeling more real than the facts. This is not about pretending. Pretending fades, feeling persists. And persistent feeling is the creative key. What you feel with consistency, you become. What you become, the world reflects. You are always rehearsing something, either lack or fulfillment. Choose consciously. Choose boldly. Choose as though it were already yours, because in imagination, it is. The world you see with your physical eyes is not separate from you. It does not exist independently. It is not an objective reality standing apart, waiting to surprise or punish you. It is a reflection, a mirror, cast outward from the patterns of your inner world. Every event, every condition, every circumstance that enters your life has its roots in the state of consciousness you occupy. This is the law, actor, and it is unbreakable. To act as if you've already won the lottery is to enter the state of financial abundance, and in doing so, to command the world to reflect that assumption. But this command is not made with words, nor with action. It is made with feeling. Feeling is the language of creation. It is the signal that goes out to the invisible forces that govern form. And these forces never fail to obey the sustained feeling state of the individual. You must learn to see the world as plastic, malleable, obedient, not fixed or rigid or separate. You are not at the mercy of conditions. You are the cause of them. And your assumption of already having won is not a mere psychological trick. It is a spiritual law in motion. The moment you enter that feeling and dwell in it as your natural state, the outer world is compelled to shift. It must align itself with your new vibration. It cannot do otherwise. When the inner world changes, the outer world follows. This change may not be immediate, because the outer world operates in time and the inner world is timeless. But once the inner change is made and held, the bridge of incidents will unfold. You will be led through ordinary channels or extraordinary ones to the fulfillment of what you have assumed. But the path cannot reveal itself until the state has been claimed. You must first declare yourself the winner before the winning can be experienced. Most people seek to change conditions while remaining the same in feeling. They want more money, but they feel poor. They want love, but they feel unworthy. They want freedom, but they feel trapped. And then they say, "I've tried everything, but nothing works." What they fail to see is that the world does not change first. The world changes last. The cause is always within. The cause is the identity you accept as true, and the identity of the lottery winner must be assumed before the win appears. This is why you must live from the end, not toward it, from it. When you live toward the end, you reinforce the idea that it is not yet yours. But when you live from the end, you affirm that it is already done. And from that inner position, you radiate the frequency that aligns with the desired outcome. The world begins to move around you, not because you forced it, but because your assumption has become a new center of gravity. To live from the end is to shift your conversations. It is to alter the way you speak about yourself, even in the silence of your mind. It is to think in ways that support your new state and to refuse to entertain anything that contradicts it. This is not denial, it is selection. You are not denying reality. You are selecting the reality you wish to live and refusing to energize anything that stands in opposition to it. The old world may still appear for a while, the facts may still reflect the former state, but if you remain faithful to your assumption, the former world will fall away. It cannot stand in the presence of sustained inner conviction. It may resist, but it must yield. The power of assumption is greater than the evidence of facts. For facts are only echoes of past belief, and belief can be changed in an instant. Think of yourself as the projector. The world is the screen. What appears on the screen is determined by the film running within. If you want to change the picture, you do not walk up to the screen and rearrange the images. You change the film. And in this analogy, the film is your inner state. It is your concept of self. When you change that concept, the world must project something new. So what does the concept of self look like for someone who has already won the lottery? It is calm, confident, secure, generous, at ease. There is no grasping, no begging, no resistance. There is only the quiet knowing that everything needed is already present. When you take on this state, you begin to carry yourself differently, and the world notices. It cannot help but respond to this new identity. People will treat you differently, opportunities will arise, money may come in ways you never imagined, but none of it can come until the identity has shifted. This is why living from the end is not just a method, it is a law. It is the only way creation occurs. You do not make the new reality come into being. You enter into it. You embody it. And in doing so, you cause the world to reflect it. This is the sacred order of manifestation. Inner acceptance precedes outer expression. The moment you adopt the consciousness of one who already possesses the thing desired, you become that thing. The line between self and desire dissolves. And once that union is complete, the outer world has no choice but to reflect the new pattern. It will do so through people, events, signs, and unexpected channels. But the source is always the same, your state of being. Persist in the state of already having. Do not allow the senses to discourage you. Do not seek reassurance from the outside. Let your inner world be the only authority, and the world around you will bow to match it. You must begin now, not tomorrow, not after some sign, not when conditions change, now. There is immense power in the present moment, and it is only here, now, that you can enter the state of already having what you desire. When you act as if you've already won the lottery, it is not a game of deception. It is the conscious assumption of a state that, in the unseen world, already exists. And it is the present moment that grants you full access to that state. The world teaches delay. It says that certain things must happen first, that you must wait for proof, that only after the condition changes can you allow yourself to feel different. But this is the inversion of spiritual law. You do not feel wealthy after you receive the money. You feel wealthy and then the money comes. This is the reversal of causation. The external is always a servant of the internal, and to live in the state of the winner today is to command the world to begin forming the outcome you have already assumed. Every day you live from the end is a day your world reshapes itself. But this reshaping is not always visible to the outer eye. Often it begins with subtle shifts, your thoughts, your tone, your sense of possibility. And these shifts are not empty. They are the indicators that you have moved into a new level of being. Once you move there inwardly, the external has no choice but to organize itself around that new center. What does it mean to live as the lottery winner now? It means to let that identity permeate your inner conversations. It means to walk with the calm and unshakable awareness that your needs are met before you even ask. It means to release the need to explain yourself, justify your desires, or seek permission from the world. The world does not need to understand what you've done in imagination. The world only needs to witness what your new state reveals. You begin by speaking differently, not to others, but to yourself. Your inner dialogue shifts. You no longer wonder if it will happen. You ask yourself how you'll now live, love, give, and express from the position of having already received it. Your questions change. You are no longer trying to create abundance. You are deciding how you will steward what is already yours. You become the guardian of the wealth you have assumed, and in doing so, you live from that consciousness. This does not mean spending recklessly or speaking out of ego. It means embodying the energy of ease and sufficiency. The world around you will begin to respond in kind. You will notice new ideas arising, people treating you differently, circumstances opening where once there were none. You are not pushing the world to obey you. You are allowing the world to respond to your new frequency. That frequency speaks louder than words. It is the silent proclamation of identity. And identity always creates environment. You are no longer chasing success. You are expressing it. You are no longer trying to manifest a new reality. You are living from it. That is the difference between acting and being. Most people act as if, temporarily, conditionally, until they lose faith. But when you assume something is already done, you cease checking for proof. You stop searching for validation. You become anchored in knowing, and from that knowing flows the world you've claimed. The world may not immediately show signs. That is not important. If you planted a seed, you would not dig it up every hour to see if it's growing. You would water it, protect it, and assume that the process is underway. So it is with assumption. You do not check to see if it is working. You know it is. You live as though the outcome is inevitable, because it is. The moment you persist in the feeling, the creation has already begun. Begin now by altering your posture, your choices, your atmosphere. You may not be in a mansion, you may not have the car or the recognition, but you can organize your environment to reflect your new identity. You can honor your time, treat your belongings with care, speak words that align with wealth, and above all, think in ways that match the life of someone who has already received what they wanted. This is how worlds are built, from the inside out. Every moment you hold the feeling you are building. Every moment you shift into the identity of the fulfilled version of yourself, you are writing the story the world must eventually read. Let your habits today reflect the mind of wealth. Let your thoughts reflect the security of abundance. Let your walk reflect the ease of one who has nothing to fear. And you will discover that circumstances bend themselves to accommodate the image you sustain. The reason it must begin now is because there is no other time in which you can assume the state. You do not live in the future, you only ever live now. So if now you are not in the state of the wish fulfilled, then you are delaying creation. You are standing still, waiting for something outside of you to move first. But the outer only moves when the inner moves. The mirror only reflects when something stands before it. Be that something. Let today be the day you stop preparing and start embodying. Let today be the day you stop asking and start receiving. Let today be the day you no longer say one day, but instead declare, this is who I am now. Because who you are now is the seed of who you will be seen as later, and that seed can only be planted in the now. The final key in the process of acting as if you've already won the lottery is a complete identification with the version of yourself who already has it. This is not about imagining the prize once or twice, nor is it about trying to trick the universe with temporary confidence. It is about becoming. The shift is not about attracting something foreign into your world, but awakening to the truth that what you desire is already a part of your being, waiting for recognition. The change is not in the world, it is in you. This is why persistence is not about effort. It is about consistency in identity. You are no longer the one who waits, wishes, and watches. You are now the one who is, the one who has, the one who walks, talks, and lives in full agreement with the reality of already having received what once felt distant. The world cannot resist a persistent inner conviction, because the world is not outside of you, it is a mirror of. Most people live in a cycle of emotional reaction. They feel confident only when circumstances support it. They feel abundant only when their bank account agrees. They feel secure only when the world reassures them. This dependence on outer evidence is the very reason their lives remain unchanged. For as long as you wait for the outer to give you permission to feel, you postpone the arrival of your desire. You must reverse the order. Feel first, assume first, embody first, and then and only then does the world comply. Identity is not built by words, it is built by assumption. By repeatedly returning to the state of the person who already has what they desire, you condition your subconscious to accept a new definition of self. And once the subconscious accepts it, it begins to operate from it. Everything flows from this identity: your choices, your reactions, your tone, your posture, your thoughts. You are no longer pretending to be someone, you have become that someone. The process is subtle at first. It may feel like you're simply entertaining a new idea, but as you persist, that idea becomes a mood. That mood becomes a pattern. That pattern becomes a character, and that character becomes your reality. What was once a conscious assumption now becomes unconscious behavior. And when the assumption becomes unconscious, manifestation is inevitable. You do not create what you want, you express what you are. Ask yourself not just what it would be like to win the lottery, but who you would be if it were already true. Would you still entertain fear? Would you still shrink in uncertainty? Would you still act from the scarcity of your former self? Or would you move in the world differently, with more certainty, more composure, more vision? These are the fruits of identity. They are not tactics or strategies to guarantee. They are natural outcomes of living from a higher self-concept. So you must let go of the old self, the one who struggled, hoped, and doubted, the one who looked at the world as an obstacle course. That self must be released, not with resistance, but with understanding. You no longer need to live by the rules of the person who didn't know their power. You are no longer governed by the stories that kept you small. You are not upgrading a version of yourself. You are assuming an entirely new one. This shift requires silence, not outer silence, but inner stillness. You must withdraw your attention from the noise of appearances. Stop checking the bank account. Stop searching for signs. Stop measuring your progress with the yardstick of the senses. Instead, withdraw and return to the knowing that says, I am already what I wish to be. This is not self-delusion, it is spiritual memory. You are remembering your power, your origin, your ability to select and become. Each day, take time to occupy this new self. Let your inner world be saturated with the feeling of already being it. When you walk, walk with the calm expectancy of one whose desire has already materialized. When you speak, speak from the seat of fulfillment. When you think, let your thoughts be the inner language of one who lacks nothing. This is how you anchor the new state. And when it becomes more familiar than the old one, the change is complete. Then, and only then, will the world mirror it back to you. Not because you forced it, not because you manipulated events, but because the reflection has no choice. The world is not creative, you are. The world only gives you back the image you hold consistently. And when that image is clear, unwavering, and emotional, reality must obey. This is not philosophy, this is law. The law that says what you accept as true in feeling will express itself in form. It may not come in the way you expected. It may not arrive through the channel you imagined, but it will come because the state determines the outcome, and your state is entirely up to you. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are the architect of them, and your identity is the blueprint. Change the blueprint, and the structure of your world rearranges itself. Hold fast to the image. Refuse to return to the former self. Speak only from the new man. Feel only from the fulfilled desire. Act only from the end, and persist not for days or weeks, but until it becomes who you are. So there will come a moment when you no longer need to act as if, because the acting has dissolved into being. The role has become reality, and the life that was once only seen in imagination is now lived in full view. You are not here to wish. You are not here to wait. You are here to awaken, to remember that everything you seek is already yours in another dimension of self. There is no delay in divine law, only delay in assumption. And the moment you assume fully and faithfully that you already have what you desire, the universe moves in quiet obedience to your new identity. You need not strain. You need not prove anything to the world. The lottery is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of alignment. When you embody the state of the winner, the world must yield. This is the secret behind every miracle. Not effort, but embodiment. Not wishing, but assuming. Not looking forward, but living from. Let the old self pass away. Let the stories of struggle, scarcity, and waiting be dissolved in the fire of knowing. Know now that you are the one who has already won. Walk as them, speak as them, rest as them. Live in the feeling until the feeling lives in you. And when it does, your outer world will not be able to resist reflecting what you've already accepted in silence. So this is the way. It has always been the way, and it will always be the only way anything is ever truly changed from within.